Hello, everybody, and welcome to another review. I haven't done a review in almost 10 years, I think. I believe the last ones that I did were the Great Racetrack Masters. I feel old. But anyway, before I have an existential crisis, let's move on. Today I'm going to be reviewing, as you can tell by the title, the 2026 diecast Oliver and Toad. Bit of a backstory on these. They seemingly do not want to sell these where I live now. I had a family reunion that I went to in Indiana this past week, and I decided to go to Target just to see if they had anything. And for the first time in what seems like forever, I was really excited to see they had the new stuff, including Oliver and Toad. So I ended up getting Oliver and Toad, and I also decided to pick up the Troublesome Truck, which I will do a separate review on at some point in the future. But for now, let's focus on these two. So this is the Oliver and Toad pack. We now know they're, I guess, in-house being called the Scrapyard Escapees pack. So it's really nice that they're going to, in the series, the new series, keep the fact that they escaped from scrap, because that's kind of their whole thing. But as you can probably tell, I did get quite excited, and I've already opened them. I also was letting my cousin, sorry, Toad.
That could have been a little smoother.
My cousin's son play with them this weekend as well. But so let's set them up over here, and let's look at the box real quick, because as I said, these are the first of the 2026 things that I actually have been able to find. So it's nice to see these in person. Let's just get it out of the way first. The address the Toad in the room. It's very clear, he has a different face shape now, instead of it being stretched all the way out to fill in the gaps here. I personally, I'm kind of okay with it. I think it looks neat. It's different. Throughout the review, I'm going to try not to compare these two to the classic series and the CGI series and stuff that we already know, and just go off of what we know about this series now, this illustration, that kind of thing. But to, as I said, address the Toad in the room, let's just get this out of the way now. The other thing is he is very clearly a different shade of gray than what he used to be, and it's very reflective on the toy. He's a much darker shade of gray. Kind of reminds me of the Railway series a little bit, but of course in the Railway series he also had his face embedded into him, so that's I can kind of see why they did this, but also it kind of looks goofy if you know Oliver and Toad. But I'll let it slide, because there's a lot more jarring redesigns. Oliver, he's basically just his CGI render with or CGI model with the new face put on. I honestly don't mind the colored irises all that much. I kind of like how Oliver, Toad, and Duck all seem to have this kind of brown eye color. So it's like the brown will be the Little Western's eye color. Kind of neat. I'm hoping that if they are going to just reuse the CGI models, that they make Oliver, you know, not small. The background it seems a little more blurry than it should be. Obviously, they want to have Oliver and Toad as like the main. I'm sure it's the same way on other packaging too. They want to have the character as the main thing, but that just seems really blurry. Um, I guess that's AI for you. Going on to the back, obviously you got the rest of Wave One: Henry, James, Gordon, Annie, and Thomas, and then Toad and Oliver. Kind of ironic they call it Toad and Oliver here, while on the front it's Oliver and Toad. Maybe that's a sign they're actually going to put Oliver ahead of Toad in terms of appearances. Be nice to actually get some Oliver content. Moving on, before I get too much into my favorite character here, we'll start with Oliver himself. Honestly, I really like how this looks. Comparatively to the artwork, it's actually a fairly good representation, I would say. It I do really like how the I'll get my little paintbrush here so we can. I do like how the handrails are actually like outdented in the metal rather than just being graphics. Um, it appears this one wasn't painted, if that is a handrail. Uh, his smokebox handrail isn't painted, but I'm honestly not really that surprised. I don't know if they just don't want to paint on plastic or what, because obviously compared to the illustration here or render or whatever you want to call it, um, he's missing his buffer beam colors and his lamp. I'm honestly not surprised they didn't paint the lamp, but the buffer beam not being painted is a little jarring. So if you're going to customize him at all, that's what I would recommend. But we'll get a good close up on his face here. It he still seems like Oliver to me. He's got his big schnoz there. They didn't change much of his side details. He's still got his GWR. He's still 11. A little disappointed that he just has the same size wheels when his trailing bogey should be slightly smaller. But I can see past that because the smaller wheels I think are reserved for the tender engines, bogies, and whatnot. On the back here, like I said, his buffer beam's not painted. Kind of a weird bit with his cab roof here, where it's just plastic. I'm sure the coal is part of the piece there, but maybe they could have put like a sticker or something there. But oh well. Same on the other side, just kind of reversed. It looks like he's been through the slight season 23 treatment where he has seemingly some extra rivets now. There's the top and his dome. I'm not 100% sure. I keep forgetting what this is actually called. But as I said, on the front here, the only real disappointment I have to say is the non-painted buffer beam. If they went through and painted these handrails, I feel like they could have done the ones on his smoke box, but that's just something a silver Sharpie could do for you. Moving on to Toad. Like I said, he's a very good representation of what's on the box. Whether you want to say he's a very good representation of Toad himself and you want to compare him to the original, yeah, you get a close-up of his face. Slightly less disappointed because I'm pretty sure he just has a black buffer beam, or at least a gray buffer beam on the packaging here. It seems like it's black. And then he has silver buffers, but of course the buffers aren't painted. We know that. Mattel does that all the time. Here he has a different number. I know that much, and they've added Oliver's the style that Oliver has with his logo to Toad now. So you know that he's part of the Great Western. Like I said, he does have a different number compared to what he used to have. I don't remember what his original number was. Cab roof is all plastic, but I guess there's just some things you can't bend metal to unless you're Toph Beifong. The other side looks basically the same. A little bit of the inside. You have the windows there, but they're not cut out or anything. There's appears to be a little door. Then I do have to admire the wood detailing. It's kind of like they tried to make it look like the metal was wood for his like wood planks inside. Nothing to really break him with, so there's not like a brake lever. Oh, maybe is that what that's supposed to be? I don't know. Then if you look, it's just like a trains model. You got to put the face somewhere. So yeah, he overall, at least with these two. Let me adjust my camera a little bit so you can see them better. I think going off of the illustration on the packaging, these look fairly good. I suppose the argument can be made for everybody in the new series whether it really represents said characters. Like, if you want to go off of, does this look like, here I have my Earl Oliver here. Are these the same character? No. But if you want to put the original series aside and focus on what the possibilities, obviously I'm recording this before we even know, we have the not even 10 seconds of footage of Thomas only. If you want to go off of just the packaging alone and what we know about the new show, I mean, for God's sakes, Boko and Stepney are supposed to be in it. Where did that come from? There's going to be some changes we're not going to like. But going off of packaging and what they have changed already, I think Oliver and Toad look pretty good. They're some of the best that I've seen of the new waves. There's some that personally I'm not a fan of. Mavis comes to mind. Toby, the fact that neither of them have their side plates is a little weird, but I suppose there's some sacrifices they have to make for toys, but I don't understand that one. But focusing just on these two, I think if you're going off of what we know based on this, these are fairly good toys. I'm actually rather impressed how much metal There actually is. I mean, you got into later take and play back in the day, like Philip and whatnot, where a lot of them ended up just being mostly plastic. I know that was the way with Wooden Railway, but Oliver, I mean, his entire body is metal, minus the smoke box. I mean, I kind of wish they would have done a metal smoke box. They used to do it for the take-alongs. Obviously, Ertl had metal, but it's Mattel. They cut costs as much as possible. So I'm fairly glad of how much metal ended up in these. Toad, on the other hand, he's mostly metal too, but only his body and basically everything down on the chassis is um, is plastic. My other gripe is I kind of don't like how they've gone back to doing rivets. I think they did that with Adventures too, but how they used to have the screws makes it harder if you want to customize them. But if you really want to customize them, you'll figure out a way. And then, of course, I do love the fact that if they're going to use the wooden railway magnets, at least they couple up how they should. You don't have Toad being able to couple up this way. But, I mean, that's also a disappointment if you're looking back on all the other die casts throughout the years, minus, like, the 2014 ones where they had the wooden railway magnets. It's a little disappointing that they can't couple up any way you want. You're forced to do this kind of thing, or having Oliver shunt him. That's a little disappointing, but again, having lived through the 2014 era where they used the wooden railway magnets, I'm not surprised. The thing that I do really like is I did some testing, and you have wooden railway track. I'm glad that they've expanded the wheels, so they work on wooden railway track, which means if they work on one railway track, they will work on what we already have. They work well on Tomy. And then they work fairly well. They're a little bit louder on the original Trackmaster track. And then, of course, they work very well on the, what are we calling it, Trackmaster 2, Revolution, just the newer Trackmasters. They're also quite loud on here, but oh well. I don't have any of the current track system, but obviously they're made to work on those. And I also don't have any take along, take and play, or Adventures track with me. So I don't know how well they work on past diecast track, but if they're working on Wooden Railway and Trackmaster, if you're not a specific diecast user, they would work really well with any of your track, I would say. I assume they work decently on. They might be a little bit bigger when it comes to like certain turns and radiuses because of having the bigger, I don't want to say diameter, but like width, bigger width in the wheels. But it's either you can use what you got or invest money into buying buying the new stuff. And if you just want to collect the engines and the rolling stock, and you have plenty of like, sorry, Oliver, you have plenty of different track systems like I have, you're good. You should be good if you want to do something with them. So yeah, that is honestly, I feel like all I really have to say. I say that's all, and this is a 20-minute review. But overall, I'm positively optimistic when it comes to the new show. I'm hoping it'll end up being good. We'll see. If Oliver gets his own episode, it'll be God tier and it'll be the best show ever. If Oliver doesn't get his own episode, it sucks as bad as All Engines Go, and I'll never watch it. But as of right now, we're probably under a month away from the new special, or at least some point learning something about the new special. And hopefully these two have some kind of role in it. I feel like they need to if they're going to be part of the first wave of toys. The only other reason I can think of Oliver and Toad being in the first wave of toys is just purely because Mattel knew older fans would buy an Oliver and Toad toy. I'm really holding out hope that while the diecast range continues to expand, that we do get a motorized Oliver and Toad pack, or maybe like a scrapyard escape set that come with Oliver and Toad, so that we can get a new motorized Oliver. Just like I'm hoping they'll do Daisy at some point, and we can finally get a motorized Daisy. Fingers crossed. As you all know, other than trains, Trackmaster and Playrail have always been my biggest collection. I do have Erdls, but unfortunately, I feel like most of my paychecks are now gonna be going to buying the new diecasts, because as I believe somebody on Twitter said, I'm only gonna get the ones I want, and then you buy them, and now you want them all. Because I very much would like to buy Henry. And I almost bought him when I bought Oliver and Toad, but I figured I should limit myself.
Help!
Because, honest to God, these are quite affordable. I believe at Target I paid for the truck about $5, and the 2-pack was $8. And that brings me back to how much take-alongs used to cost back 20 years ago. I feel even older now, but a take-along small engine used to cost $5, maybe, I think, and a tender engine was like $7. So it's nice to get a 2-pack that's under $10. Mainly because I feel like any more than that, and these wouldn't be worth it. But for $8, that's $4 each. Yeah, honestly, that's a really good price, I feel like, for what you get. Overall, I would probably give at least these two a solid 8 out of 10. I have my gripes. Like I said, I would really liked it if they had painted the buffer beam at least the front buffer beam. They can kind of leave the back one if they really wanted to. But if you're gonna advertise him having the red, they should probably put it on the toy. But I want to say I understand, but I don't. It's an odd thing. But so yeah, that's about it. like I said, I will be doing a separate review for the troublesome truck at some point. So that basically concludes my review. I would recommend it, especially if you're an Oliver fan like me. And that's about it. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the future with more reviews of the 2026 stuff. All right, bye.